Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 11 of What If Naruto Travel to Hashirama's Time. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in social media platform. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto and Sasuke were taken by Itachi and enjoy that guys over on Anime King. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what is we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, as they made their way towards Take, where the mighty tree was, no one was able to live there, as Naruto had made sure of that, because there was where he put the three-tailed turtle, as they were living in the outskirts of the village there. As Naruto and Sasuke and Kakashi and Sakura were walking towards it, they suddenly got stuck. Kakashi got frozen completely because he had a step in front of them, but Sakura and Sasuke was in it as Naruto told him to rush back to the village and get help. As they did, as Naruto was able to break out of it quickly though, by adding a ceiling bubble around him as he made his way. As he saw all the seals that were deactivated, the person made their way through here, and the box was gone. The turtle was gone, but Naruto was the only one that could open it though. As he went back and froze himself, as he had a lot of time to think, until they got back there. As Kushina arrived with Menma, as they were able to free them all. As they got freed and returned back to Konoha. After getting back to their feet, Naruto started to wonder just what in the hell was going on. He needed more information, so he went to the Uchiha compound. As he snuck in, Itachi was able to sense something, as the boy just shot out of bed, surprised Naruto. As Naruto used a flash jutsu to completely blind all of them for a moment before he vanished. Making his way, the next morning the commotion was on, as Fukaku and Minato were trying to find out what was going on. As Naruto was sent to the Uzumaki compound to see if there was any invisibility jutsu, seals, or flashing seals. As he could sense his mother and the others, they were down below, under the barrier of Konoha as they were doing something, but he wasn't sure what they were doing as his mother quickly saw Shin upside when she sensed his chakra. As Naruto wondered what was with a quick reaction, as he relayed information to her, but there was no such feeling like that, as he made his way towards the academy, where the test was supposed to happen as they were given permission to use one of the Uzumaki training field ground. As they made their way there, as Minato was there, Naruto gave him the information. As Naruto was the first on the test's course to show the student what it was all about, but the thing was still key into his chakra. So when he was the First Hokage, Naruto was able to run through this course with ease, but now his body has not been up to that level yet, and the thing gave him the hardest level possible. As at first, he could run through this with ease, but at the level that he was now, most people would die. As Naruto struggled to make his way out of there, but he did it. Out of nowhere though, a swirling vortex came up, as Naruto felt the chakra that was inside of it, the calm chakra that was in there, as Haruto was the one that used chains to attach Naruto's feet and pull him out of there, and they got him free, as Naruto was brought to the hospital because of chakra exhaustion after the ring. As Naruto came to, he knew who it was behind that. It was Madara. His chakra felt calm. He wasn't feeling rage or anything from Madara, as Naruto couldn't understand what the hell was going on. Minato got there after a while to get Naruto out and bring some fresh air, as they flashed towards the hidden sand, as Naruto met Gaara. Yes, Gaara was there. As another seal was disrupted, as Menma informed Minato that many of them has been disrupted over the time being. As Naruto just wondered what the hell was going on, what the hell was Madara doing, and did Madara know? No, how could he know that this Naruto was him, that he had the same mind? As Naruto cursed, he wondered what the hell he was supposed to do now. So yeah guys, so basically let's put it off. You guys in, switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. Yo, Sasuke greeted Naruto, as Naruto looked up from his novel and replied, Sasuke has been spending most of his free time training. seeing that they got invaded, and he still didn't know who it was. As Naruto squirmed a bit, inwardly still feeling guilty about temporarily blinding Itachi and Sasuke, but he was glad that he was better. "Yo," said Naruto, as Sasuke walked into the room. He was here to visit out of courtesy. Suddenly, Naruto felt damp in icy water, like he was drifting, alone, in a sea of secrets. Before, he had always had Kurama to talk to. Then he had Madara, Hashirama, Aisuna, Tobirama, his clan, the whole village, but now, he had no one. Not really. And it was lonely, utterly and completely so. He made the decision before he could talk himself out of it, as he hopped out of the bed. "What are you doing?" Sasuke asked, as Naruto pulled him to the room and shut the door. There was an envoy station nearby, so Naruto had to use seals to make sure what they talk about was not heard. "Just trust me," said Naruto as he waved his hand, as he focused the chakra to his fingers, as he traced out the seal onto the wooden door, as it glowed slightly. As he moved to the window and did the same seal. "You're kind of good with seals," Sasuke noted. "I never thought I ever saw Arashi using seals so casually." "Arashi is a child," said Naruto. "Of course you'll be hesitant. For good reasons. Many things can go wrong." Sasuke didn't comment. That was one of the strangest things about Naruto. Sometimes when he spoke, he sounded like an old man instead of a genin. "Anyway," said Naruto, "can you keep a secret?" he asked, as he looked towards Sasuke. "That's a loaded question. If it's major, you know I can't. I have a duty to the village after all." He gave Naruto a look, daring him to say anything that would force Sasuke to act on him. It was a tough place to be, and the fact that Sasuke would still choose the village over whatever he was about to say, it made Naruto feel all that more alone. "You know what? That's fair. I can respect that. I'll just tell you anyway, and you can decide for yourself." As Naruto went over to the bed and sat down, as Sasuke just looked at Naruto. "I'm a sensor type shinobi," said Naruto. "So, how's that a secret?" Sasuke asked, a frown. "Not just a sensor type, a really good sensor. And there are things about the village I know because of this. For example, your brother room is not connected to the village ceiling matrix. In fact, it's completely blocked from sensors, top to bottom." As Naruto looked up at Sasuke with a guilty look on his face, it took 3 seconds for Sasuke to connect the dots. "Tell me, that wasn't you," he says. He narrowed his eyes. "It was me," said Naruto, honestly. "I wasn't sure I would find anything, and I was there for only like 5 seconds. I didn't even make a sound, and he just knew I was there." Sasuke's chakra started to boil as Naruto felt it, as he started to make his way towards the door. "There's a serious investigation going into that, Naruto. Wasting time and resources, I gotta let them know." Sasuke reached out his hand to touch the door. "Wait, just hear me out." As Sasuke did stop, his hand on the door frame. "Something is going on. Something big," Naruto said. "What are you talking about?" said Sasuke, as he was getting rather irritated because Naruto was saying these things and they were so vague. "Those ceiling wonders, someone is breaking them. And as far as I can see, it's not a good thing. Besides, don't tell me that Itachi is not a bit strange these days. I sense something that one time you were talking to me about surpassing him. That one time when I was at your house, I saw my brother arguing with your brother. And what if they know something? They're supposed to be geniuses," said Naruto. Sasuke sighed. "You really are an idiot, aren't you? How the heck do you connect Itachi to those ceiling wonders? They have disagreements all the time, you know, the whole genius thing. Besides, you need to know ceiling to break a ceiling wonder, which Itachi knows nothing but the basic of. I can't believe you broke into my house over this." "So, Itachi likes his privacy. Big deal." Naruto kept his features light as he placed a hand behind his head and gave an embarrassing laugh. "Well, when you put it that way, I guess it really does sound stupid, now does it?" He couldn't explain further without revealing much, as Sasuke was too young, too innocent. He really could involve him. "I'm sorry I broke into your house. I really wasn't there for too long." Sasuke seemed to completely forgotten about the level of seals that Naruto was using that night. If he had taken them into consideration, perhaps he would have believed that Naruto wasn't the idiot that he tried to act sometime. As Naruto felt the distance between himself and the others around him just extended a bit further at the failure of this conversation. Time skip. Naruto was able to leave the hospital 2 days after his failed talk with Sasuke, as Sasuke was nice enough not to tell his father who had broken in, knowing that not everyone would, well, be so light about the situation as he was. As Naruto was now back in his room, he was thinking someone was coming. Someone was trying to take him, knowing that it was necessary to open the boxes. And that person was Uchiha Madara, a person that should not be alive. He wasn't even supposed to know who he was at this point. Perhaps Madara got here the same way he did. With a heavy sigh, Naruto got up and walked towards the kitchen. The house was quiet. It was always quiet to everyone, out on missions, clan training, or Hokage duty. It was lonely, as a memory swam into his mind. Focusing his chakra, Naruto disappeared from the Namikaze residence, nearly giving the guard a heart attack as he appeared in front of the Sarutobi clan compound, as he waved at the gate guard before casually entering the compound. He'd been here so many times before, he was surprised he didn't realize coming here sooner. Hiruzen was more like a grandfather figure to him than he was the first time around. Having given Minato the hat shortly after Naruto's birth, the man had more time in his hands. He also visited Namikaze residence a lot of time, giving Minato advice where he could. He knocked on the door as he waited. He was greeted by Sarutobi Asuma. "Ah, Naruto-kun. Here to see the old man," Asuma asked with a smile. "Ew, Asuma-sensei. Is he around?" Naruto asked. Asuma stepped back as Naruto pulled off his shoes. As he made his way towards the dojo, "Yeah, we're helping Konoha master some jutsus. It's his team off day." It was hard to keep track of where people was in this present. Konoha was already at Genin. "Thanks," said Naruto, as they made their way towards the dojo, as he heard loud bangs. "Slowly, Konoha, patience." The soft hum of the old man's voice reached him as he entered. Konoha turned towards him, seeing Naruto, and he didn't really react, as they didn't have that kind of relationship. He was far less showy in this point, because Konoha was too vast for a lot of people to recognize him as the fourth Hokage's son. With that, and Naruto caused enough of a stir to take the attention from the young boy, as Naruto waved as Konoha gave a half wave back, taking the momentary distraction to catch his breath. As Naruto surveyed the damage and saw they were practicing the Shuriken clone jutsu. "Yo, Gigi," he said, as he moved closer to Sarutobi, who was seated, so he wouldn't be hit by any stray projectiles. "Ah, Naruto-kun, haven't seen you in a while. How did the training go?" As Naruto had learned the basics of the Rasengan from this man here, and he was the one who suggested the 4-week training session of ours. Ironically, he was the one that taught the Rasengan to heroes in the first place, so it was like it was going around in a full circle. He raised his hand as a blue ball of energy formed his palm. "Oh, wonderful," Hiruzen said. "I hear that you've been placed on a team now. How's that going?" Naruto let the Rasengan fade before rubbing the back of his head. Not too bad. They're a good team. How's Konoha training going?" Naruto asked, as he turned to see the boy nodding to Asuma. "He got potential," said Naruto. "He's rushing. He's got promise today, but I don't know when we can help him again. A retired Hokage, well, isn't very retired. I heard about the Sealing Wonders and the attempt abduction." Sarutobi tone was serious, treating Naruto more like an adult than what he had in previous visits. "It's getting weird out there, Gigi," said Naruto. "Hey, maybe I can help him." "Alright, Konoha, one more try," Asuma said. Konoha picked up the shuriken and tossed it as he went through hand signs. The shuriken wobbled, but they did not multiply as it slammed into the post. Well, at least he got the target. Naruto walked up to Konoha. "Hey, you want me to show you a trick?" he said. "Maybe not trick, but something to help me with this jutsu." Konoha shrugged. "Sure," he said, as Naruto picked up a shuriken from the box and held it in his palm. If you coat the shuriken in a small layer of your chakra, it kind of guides the jutsu you're going to perform, as he put a little more chakra than usual, as a blue layer came around it. These old guys forget that point, because they learn this after they mix the shuriken into their chakra. As Naruto placed shuriken on the ground before going through hand signs, as the thing multiplied to hundreds, as Konoha leaped back in surprise. "Whoa, that's so cool! Not even Gigi can make that many," Konoha said. "Well, I overdid it a bit, but the concept can be applied to any ninja tool that you use. If you get really good, you can apply the jutsu as well." As Naruto created a very tiny Rasengan in his hand, adding enough wind chakra to make it fly a distance. The thing then multiplied to 10 as they smashed into the train ground floor. "Sorry about the holes, Gigi," said Naruto. Konoha seemed speechless as Asuma dropped the lighter. "What has Kakashi been teaching you?" he muttered. As he picked up his lighter, Hiruzen, on the other hand, was really silent. That master of the Rasengan was not possible with the amount of time that Naruto has been training. In fact, Minato would have trouble with that master of the Rasengan, and he was highly exceptional when it comes to that ability. Not to mention his master of the Cyclone Jutsu. To apply to a jutsu was unthinkable. Something only a Uzumaki would be crazy enough to try. That boy was surely a wonder. "Alright, Konoha, give it a try," said Naruto, as he walked back over to Sarutobi. "So, Gigi," said Naruto, as he felt a drop in the man's chakra like he was thinking a lot. "Do you think he will get it?" "Come, Naruto-kun, let's leave this too. There's something that we must discuss." Asuma was curious, not as suspicious as his father though. As Naruto narrowed his eyes, what did the older Sarutobi want to know? As he brought Naruto to the personal study, where there were a lot of high-level privacy seals, he put those sealed there himself, so whatever Hiruzen wanted to talk about was going to be serious. As Hiruzen sat down behind the table, as he invited Naruto to take a seat as well, So, Naruto-kun, or whether I should say, Naruto-sama, why haven't you said anything to Minato Namikaze about your presence? Hiruzen said politely as he took a deep puff from his pipe, as Naruto had mere seconds if he was going to lie, as he looked towards Hiruzen. Now, before you say anything, because I can see denial on your face, Naruto-kun, and I can call you Kun since you're younger than me. After all, you died at around my eldest son age. Sarutobi chuckled, honestly enjoying this more than Naruto thought he should. It's fascinating to see how similar you are to Naruto Namikaze. Let me start by engaging in an old man pastime by telling you some stories from my youth. As Naruto remained silent, I remember the day that my father, Sasuke Sarutobi, the clan head of the Sarutobi clan then, received the invitation to join Konoha. Senju Tobirama was an imposing man, young, powerful, and intelligent beyond his years. Worse, still, he knew it. As Hiruzen chuckled. Flashback as Hiruzen threw the kunai. It was a hot day as the sun reflected off the metal. He heard commotion at the gate, so he looked away, as he made his way to wonder what was going on. As his father then barked out, Hiruzen, stay out of it. This doesn't concern you. His father was sharper than those would give him credit for. He was a quiet shinobi, preferred to think first and act later. It was a trait that got him a lot of respect from the other clans. His judgment was always accurate. Hiruzen hunched his shoulder and pouted. His father roughly is here. Go back to your training. As Hiruzen smiled, that wasn't the order. As he scaled right over the wall to see what his father was doing, his father went around the corner towards the gate. A lone shinobi stood at the gate entrance. He couldn't have been more than 20, yet torn over a shinobi guard that was pointing a tanto at him. He didn't appear phased by the tanto, just stare at the gates as he was waiting for Sasuke to appear. Put the blade down, I will leave this man, said Sasuke. After all, Senju Tobirama is a man that should be treated as a guest. Hiruzen eyes wide when he heard that name. Senju Tobirama? No way. He only ever heard stories of the man. Looking at him now, comparing him to the stories that he heard, Hiruzen felt the excited glee bubbling up in his chest. But that glee turned to ice the moment Tobirama looked over towards the roof. As Hiruzen couldn't move fast enough as the man looked at him, as he was frozen to his spot. Hiruzen was no more old than 7. When that compared to his skill, it was lacking a lot in Senju status. As the man then turned his gaze, as Hiruzen took a deep breath. Hiruzen watched as he walked towards the meeting room, as he did not follow his time. There were some things he wouldn't be able to sneak past his father, and this was one of them. As we skip back to the real time, it was only later that I learned that we received the invitation to join Konoha. We didn't accept right away. My father was a careful man. He was no fool to the danger that such a dream of Konoha would face. He waited. He wanted to see how the newly formed village would fare against outside threats. He also wanted to see how it would affect the war in clan states. If two fated enemies could come together, perhaps there was hope, indeed. Hiruzen put his pipe down, his eyes distant with the memory of his father. A few months passed before my father made a decision, so we packed up and moved to Konoha. The day we arrived, well, that was quite a memorable experience. Flashback. Hiruzen's shirt was being pulled back by his father to stop the boy from running ahead. They had been traveling for weeks, making their way from Sarutobi compound to Konoha. To say that Hiruzen was excited would be an understatement, as they finally spotted the gates. Konoha had quite literally sprung up overnight. The powers of Naruto Uzumaki, known far and wide. That feat alone was enough to convince Sasuke to move the rank of his clan to join Konoha ranks. The other major factor was the village defenses. They all heard the terms and the stories of the impenetrable village walls that the reason he stopped Hiruzen from going far, in case there were any seals in front of it or something. Not too many people tried, but some of them tried, and none of them could penetrate the walls, and the village did not deal with intruders kindly. But Hiruzen was forced to spring backwards due to a flash as he saw orange. Hiruzen gawked at the man in orange armor in front of him. The name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm so glad that you decided to accept our invitation. The Sarutobi clan is most welcome in Konoha. Sasuke was quick to recover as he bowed. We are honored to be considered. Standing with the prestigious clans of those who founded Konoha is more than I could ask for in my lifetime. As Naruto's eyes finally opened, as he was smiling the entire time with his eyes closed, as Hiruzen saw his eyes, a deep blue color. So you're Sarutobi Sasuke, said Naruto, as he scanned over the man. I would love to spar with you, when you settle, of course. He said a large grin, while Sasuke felt himself grow nervous. He was no stranger to Uzumaki Naruto's reputation. The man was a monster of a shinobi. This is my son Hiruzen, Sasuke said, as he changed the topic. As Hiruzen had yet to close his mouth since Naruto arrived, Naruto's face twitched slightly as his gaze moved towards the young Sarutobi. He blinked as he raised a hand. He placed on Hiruzen's head, as Hiruzen held a breath, as he did not move, did not know what the shinobi was about to do. Jiji, Naruto snorted, as he moved his hand and placed it towards his navel, to measuring sort of his height. Before anyone could ask why Naruto had just called him an old man, and measuring his height, Naruto burst out laughing, as he kept on laughing for 10 minutes straight. Every time they thought he was finished, he looked back over at Hiruzen, as he burst out laughing once again. Back to the present time. Yes, that laughter. He did it for 2 whole weeks. I can't say I'm a fan, Hiruzen said that chuckle. I would be walking to the village, and then suddenly all I heard was his laughter. He never explained why, and no one was brave enough to ask. He eventually stopped because Tobirama sensei would smack him in the head every time he started to laugh. These are very interesting stories, but I don't see what they have to do with me being the first. Naruto was careful in his wording, as he was testing the waters. There were too many unknowns at this point for him to be sure that he could trust Hiruzen completely. But I'm only at the beginning. Patience, Hiruzen said. My sensei, as you know, was Senju Tobirama. The first to come visit my team often was in a train, while talking to sensei. Their conversation would usually be the first asking my sensei for some advice or some other. But there were a few times the conversation didn't make sense, not at first. Flashback. Hashirama just finished short note of conflict to digging a stone. Aizen and Madara start to settle down looking for a wife, even if they hadn't recognized it yet. Noaki is in the academy. Tanaka started sealing master training. Mito is more than pleased that Kazuna is interested in medical ninjutsu, even at a young age like that. All in all, the village is shaping up nicely. Naruto grinned widely as Tobirama watches young Genins go through katas. He would spar with them as soon as Naruto left, and their katas were just warm-ups. Hiruzen knew this, but he was eager to hear what news the first bring. To say that he idolized a man would be an understatement. So tell me, how does this version match up the previous one? Asked Tobirama. Well, this is happening much faster. I can't say much for the 4 other villages. I'm assuming that they will form faster as well. But if they had uptaken importance from our village, I don't know. At the very best, having the academy sooner means that we got a solid training system at best, and we will be able to strengthen our forces beyond what we have at the last time. It is likely that there won't be any ninja wars at this time. Whether or not that remains a good thing, remain to be seen, said Tobirama. His gaze then suddenly sharpened. Hiruzen, you're slacking. Hiruzen jumped as he was more focused on the conversation that they were having than his training style, as he was confused as hell. The conversation sounded like they tried to unite the clans before, but they had failed somehow. But surely he would have heard of that. Back to the present time. It wasn't only with Tobirama sensei these strange conversations had, said Hiruzen. Being the student of Tobirama meant that a lot of important people wanted attention. I was there for many important conversations I suppose I was not supposed to be there for. Madara Uchiha, Asuna Uchiha, Mito Uzumaki, Asuna Uzumaki, and Senju Hashirama, and many others. Yet it was only with the founding 5 that these strange conversations kept on happening. I didn't think much of them at first, and honestly, I didn't remember much of them either. You'll be surprised what your brain picks up on, but we'll get back to that. I remember being taught the Rasengan, a jutsu, that was hardly my style. When they first taught it to me, I was in awe of being trusted to learn such a powerful technique. Looking back at that memory now, I realized he had an agenda in mind. I looked at my students when the day came to pass on technique, and I remember what Naruto-sama told me he wanted me to do. The jutsu was to be passed on to the most unruly of my students. There was no doubt that could only be Jiraiya. I must admit there was a brief moment where I considered passing jutsu down to Orochimaru-kun. Yet, the first words were true. It only worked for boisterous shinobis. Jiraiya was able to learn technique after many months, perhaps even a year or 2. He tried his best to add his own signature to it, but that proved more difficult than what Jiraiya could complete. As far as I know, he's still trying. We knew that the first was able to add elements to his Rasengan, yet Jiraiya had trouble with it. He eventually passed technique down to Minato-kun. He wasn't the most boisterous student, but he showed Jiraiya something to make Jiraiya taught him technique. He has managed to come close to matching the first with his mastery over the Rasengan. Still, his version of Rasengan lacked something, said Hiruzen. Despite the stakes, Naruto was enjoying the stories. It gave him the insight that he craved all this time. And that day, that dreadful day when Hashirama returned with the news of the first death, the entire village seemed to lose its light. It took a long while for us to regain the happiness and the hope that had come in our heart when we first arrived at Konoha. Hashirama was not to be outdone as he became the second Hokage. Each person who wore the hat has managed to do something better than the last person in some way when it was passed down to my teacher, Tobirama. Yet, it is important to know Madara Uchiha to the first death. His reaction. After Naruto saw Sama passing, there was an unsettling feeling, the way the four of them interact with each other. It was troubling, I saw it. But there was nothing I could have done at the time. Madara was perhaps the most obvious about his discontent. Flashback. Tobirama. Where's your blasted brother? Madara shouted in anger. As he was frustrated, he was not in the mood for small talk. Tobirama paused as he looked towards Madara. As he remained calm, he was due to his outbursts. You know as much as I do, Madara, and you know that. Do not tell me that you actually believe this story, Madara said furiously. Is this what troubled you? Tobirama hummed as he walked away from Danzo. Perhaps the one change Naruto implemented in Hiruzen teammates, perhaps a rivalry, would not start the dark path that Danzo would go down. You've always have a healthy, suspicious nature. After all, you did see something in your father's death that most chose to ignore. What do you think of things? And your brother, where is he? I haven't been able to talk to him in weeks. I haven't been able to find him, said Tobirama. Personally, what can we do, said Madara. If you're right and Hashirama sent Naruto back to his true time, what can we do about it? Tobirama sighed. As Madara continued, we can stop him from becoming next Hokage. You can have that position for all I care. How do I trust someone who didn't trust us with his decision? So important, so far-reaching. And he must have asked me for help. As you know, Tobirama is a fool when it comes to sealing. So, the both of them made this decision, not us. As Madara glared at Tobirama, daring to disagree. Careful, Uchiha. You're dangerously close to insubordination, said Tobirama, his tone warning. You're a fool when it comes to your brother, Senju, and one day it will be the end of you, said Madara, as he walked away. Back to the present time. And that was the last time Madara was in the village. He left after that. I don't know if he spoke to Hashirama, or if he confirmed his suspicions. I didn't really understand suspicion at the time. He left, leaving behind Izuna, his younger brother. Strangely, the Uchiha clan didn't seem bothered by his departure. Hashirama didn't even go after him, in fact. It was hardly spoken about, and Uchiha Madara was never spoke about again. The remaining three founders never spoke of Uchiha Madara's departure, or of the first death. It was only much later when I was given the fourth Hokage position, and I gained access to new information, that all these little oddities started to come back to me. I gained access to the first origin files, something that was not taught in the academy. I learned that he was from a distant village, with a mother and father who sacrificed himself for the village. But I also knew that no such village existed at the time. The Sarutobi clan has a key of history. We're excellent record keepers. Other reports and facts start to highlight a lot. In this world, many things that seem impossible, especially when it comes to a sealing master. It didn't seem so impossible anymore. Wouldn't you say that, Naruto-kun, said Hiruzen. As Naruto looked at the man, he wasn't known as a professor for nothing. He pieced together the information from small piece of details. He might not have all the details, and Hiruzen probably might have more to tell him. Well, said Naruto, I'm not sure what all of these stories have to do with me, but Hiruzen stopped him. Yes, Asuma-kun. Asuma entered with a bow of apology. The Anvus are here. They wish to take Naruto-kun home. Naruto pouted. Had they left him for a while to enjoy his visit, or did they take this long to find him? Another time then, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen said, as he gave him a wink. Was his wink to say that his secret was safe for now? Naruto sighed and stood as he bowed to Hiruzen. This protection detail was getting rather annoying. So, how's Konoha doing? He asked Asuma. Better now, I guess. He's still gonna need to practice though. He's got the potential to even surpass you, Asuma-san, said Naruto. As Asuma chuckled. He's got to learn how to hit the post first. As soon as they exited the compound, a chill gripped at Naruto's core. As Naruto gripped the jacket where his heart was. As Asuma felt it as well. All over Konoha, people got frozen what they were doing. As Minato wondered what was this? Was this some sort of invasion? He could barely raise a hand to signal the Anvus. This was disturbing. Konoha was supposed to be without equal when it comes to village. Defenses. What was this? It was almost like the most concentrated kill intent spreading. But before he could do anything else, a deep, dark voice spoke in their minds. I am Madara Uchiha, and I will not be ignored. Before this day is done, you will hand Naruto Namikaze over to the Uchiha compound. If you do not, then I declare war on Konoha. May the gods be merciful to those who defy me. As it vanished. As Naruto clenched his fists. As Madara used the village security matrix in such a way. What was that idiot thinking? Never mind that. A war? As Naruto knew that he had mere seconds to act. It only took 2 seconds as Minato flashed in front of Naruto as he gripped Naruto's shoulder. We're not handing you over, Naruto, he said, as they vanished once again. As Naruto looked around, he was in some sort of safe house. Stay here. I'm gonna get your mother. As Naruto looked around the room, taking note of a seal, building his foundation. This wasn't a safe house, this was a prison. Did Minato intend to lock him in here for his own safety? His father and mother returned quickly, as Kushina immediately hugged him. Menma was still out on his mission. Dad, I don't understand. What does Uchiha Madara want with me, said Naruto, as he played dumb. I don't know, Naruto, but more importantly, how do we know that that is Madara that we're dealing with? Minato huffed in frustration and he paced. His thoughts were racing. I can't stay here for long and neither can your mother. We need to be in the village, organizing the clans, if this man's serious and truly intend to fight us. You can't leave me here, said Naruto, as he could help in the war. No, you're staying here. For whatever reason, they want you, said Kushina. As she pulled away from the hug, her eyes firm as she spoke. There was no arguing this one. But I can't just sit here while everyone else fight a war over me, Naruto stammered. It's unheard of, one person against the entire village. They will ask you to retire over this, said Naruto. If things end badly, then perhaps, said Minato. However, I don't intend for things to go that badly. We are Konoha, Naruto. We will make it through this. But what if this is really Madara, said Naruto? He's one of us, a founder nonetheless. We shouldn't fight him. A war over him, ridiculous. Yet tail beasts were that valuable, and Madara knew it. A declaration of war does sound like you feel the same way, said Kushina. What if I choose to go to him, said Naruto? I'm old enough, so that I can... Kushina looked at him. Naruto-kun, I'm sorry, she said, cutting him off. As her chakra built up, Naruto realized too late as he jerked backwards away from her grasp, but not in time. The seal stuck and he hit the ground, fast asleep. As Minato picked him up and placed him on the bed. Are you sure that he won't be able to leave? Kushina asked. As Minato nodded. Not unless he's a seal master. You know, we never did find out the full extent of his knowledge. At the very least, by the time that sleeping seal were off, it would be too late. Why do you think Madara wants him? Said Minato as he was frustrated by this. He's got a peculiar chakra. Mitosama has linked it to that of the first. There are many seals that the first created that he can open and control. Perhaps that is what Madara wants. If he really wanted Naruto, why did he bother with the announcement in the first place? Why hadn't he just snuck in the village and kidnapped Naruto that way? If it was really Madara, Minato had no doubt that the man could have. Let's go prepare for war, said Minato, as he gave his son one final look as he disappeared from the room. Time skip. When the next morning came, the village was deadly quiet. Somewhere during the night, every single Uchiha had vanished from the Uchiha compound. There weren't signs of a struggle and they did not left through the village gates. They were merely gone. Minato clenched his teeth in anger. Did this mean that they have joined the so-called Madara? Or have they been taken by force? Were they still even alive? Many of the clan heads argued the pros over handing Naruto over to this maniac. They even had the audacity to point out Naruto's many failures and compare him to Menma, who was a valuable asset. Some had blatantly said that Minato should be happy to get rid of such a failure that only proved to anger Minato even more. As he was staring at the clan heads, trying to come to some sort of agreement, in the end, a debate was needed. Minato simply wanted to hear the options of the people who he was going to fight with. Enough, Kushina said, banging her face on the table. I will not hear another word about sending my son to the slaughter. Anyone here who wishes to send my son to that bastard better be willing to send one of their own children as well. Or so help me, I will take them from you myself and see how you like it, she said. Kushina, said Minato, trying to calm her down. As her word had an effect, many of them started shifting in their seats, unable to meet her gaze, speaking in a strategical manner. Giving the boy over wouldn't be our best option, said Shikaku. We know that they previously tried to capture the boy. We know that he's valuable to them, even if we don't know why. It's safe to assume that keeping Naruto here gives us the advantage. It also means the war won't start off with drastic measures, because if we're hiding him inside the village, they won't go with mass destruction, because he could risk killing the boy. It puts a cap on their efforts. You make a sound effort as always, Nara-san, said Minato. Is there anyone here who disagree with Nara-san? Before anything else could be said, that same feeling gripped them once again. A swirl of blue chakra rotated in the center of the room. Slowly, an image started to form, two figures, hazy and crude. Now, Namikaze, I do respect you, but if you insist on carry on like this, we're going to have to get personal. The voice is the same as before. As Kushina choked, as a chakra snapped into focus. Now, I'm afraid that you have not met my deadline. His arm was extended towards his right, as she saw a kunai pressed up against Menma's throat. Menma, who looked like he has been beaten repeatedly. The boy could barely stand, one eye swollen shut as blood ran free from a lot of cuts over his body. I must commend you, Namikaze. The boy is incredibly loyal, but unfortunately he can't give me what I want. I want Naruto-kun. You bastard! I'll kill you, said My, it's been so long since I had such a good laugh. I think I'll keep this one a little longer and he will break. They all do. Different times we grew up in, Little Namikaze. Can you successfully lead a war? As the kunai was dragged to Menma's face, sharp edge digging into his cheek. As Menma could only took in a short breath. I was bred for war, but you've been living so peacefully, confident in your village protection. I have a secret for you, Little Namikaze. I own those seals. I can manipulate them when and how I choose. There's only one other person that can do that in your village, and you toss him aside. You bred him as a failure. You don't deserve your son, Little Namikaze. Madara, you've gone too far. The quiet voice was one that Madara has not heard for a very long time. I can't believe that you managed to cling to your wretched life. Me too. You and I both know what I want. Just give the boy to me. As he removed the kunai from Menma, as Menma collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. As Madara kicked him over, forced him to fall. As he stomped on Menma's back. Wasn't this one a project, said Madara. I'll trade this one for Naruto. A project for a failure. I think that is fair. What do you want with my son, said Kushina. Why, little Kushina-chan, what I want is very simple. You see, I want to kill him. Madara said so sweetly, it was like he was offering Kushina a slice of cake. As he waved the kunai around. As he pressed his foot down, as Menma cried out in pain. How many times has he been crying out for Minato to get nothing? How many times has he go through so much torture and pain? Minato tried to censor the mark that he left on Menma's shirt, but there was no signal. Had Madara removed it? Were they too far away? Was there something blocking it? You have 1 week until the war begins. Graceful, aren't I? Until then, I'll continue to play with this one. As Madara dropped the kunai, it buried right into Menma's back, as he cried out in pain. Minato's first command was the one to break Madara's spell. That he just watched over all of them. We need to find a way to break him out of the sealing matrix. Now! His stony gaze was on his wife, and Mito. Mito nodded once, but her eyes were grim. I'll be honest with you, Hokage-sama. The first matrix is one that we've been unable to crack. The most anyone has been able to do is create a pocket outside the seal matrix. What concerned me more is Madara's age. Did you not notice how young he looked? Mito had a good point, as she looked like a small breeze would blow away, as she was technically younger than Madara. Madara looked fresh in his prime, barely older than Kakashi. As Minato took note of that fact, Snazzy was known to create jutsu to illusion her age. Was Madara doing the same? No, his movements suggested no. That was not the point. A jutsu might affect one's appearance, but not the body. The age would have shown in his handling of Menma. Menma, his heart squeezed, as without a location he was not knowing what to do. Kakashi, Minato called. Would Jiraiya be able to help with your... Yes. Kakashi was known to want to stick to the shadows. Jiraiya was very flashy, but he needed one more as well. He needed a team to put together quickly. Perhaps Haruto. No, he was too important for Seal Matrix. Arashi. Too young, but he had the skills. Hyuga, Neji Hyuga. Young, talented. Haku. Also young and talented. Which of them would ensure a successful mission? The decision was difficult. He would lead it to Kakashi. He would know the best one to work with. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Kakashi as he was in the meeting, mostly keeping silent. You need to find Menma, go to his last known location, and find out where he went. Take whoever you need, just leave the initial report on my desk. Minato was quiet, keeping it just to them. I want Naruto, said Kakashi, as Minato gave him a firm look. He's a good sensor. He might be able to trap Menma on that alone. Madara won't expect it if we pretend that Naruto was still in the village. He give us a surprise attack. It won't work that way. Madara has access to the Seal Matrix, which means he can sense everyone in the village. Those bubble outside Seal Matrix would be our best hope to hide Naruto from Madara. But that will be no different from him leaving the village completely. As always, Hokage-sama, the village. Decision is yours. I can only add my own thoughts, said Shikaku as he approached. After eavesdropping, we should ignore Menma for now. I know he's your son, and you desperately want him back. But have you considered that it's a distraction? We need to investigate the Uchiha compound. That is where Madara wanted Naruto in the first place. And where did the Uchihas go? If the clan has joined Madara, it's something that we need to know. Given that if we're going to fight against the Uchihas, we require specific countermeasures. Ignore Menma, Minato lipped thin. As he thought about that, Shikaku's logic was sound as always. Kakashi, you're on Menma. Find Jiren and get to investigate the Uchiha compound. He can take Arashi with him. There might be seals involved. Alone? Asked Kakashi. Yes, alone. We need our focus here. A week barely gave me enough time to recall the shinobis out on missions. Shikaku, you're on the war council. We have a lot of work set out in front of us. Kakashi nodded as he flashed away. Time skip. As Naruto had watched from the rafters of the meeting room, as he see and felt everything that Madara was saying, but there's a feeling of detachment to his words. Why go through all this trouble just to get him to kill him? This was the real Naruto right here. In the 2 seconds before Minato arrived to take Naruto with him, Naruto created a clone. And that clone was stuck inside the seal. Yes, that was a clone, more durable than any other clone. The original Naruto was able to train for next week through his heart content, only using a hench to make sure he looked like a normal shinobi. Now that they believed that he was locked away, he could roam freely, without a squad of Anbu watching his location every time. Disappearing from the room, he focused on the Uchiha compound, as he wanted to have a look around before Jiraiya go there. As he pulled as much senjutsu chakra he could to his eyes, he wanted to see the seals in the compound before activating them with his chakra. If Mito and Kushina were focused on his seal matrix, they would see his chakra when he activated. The pain in his eyes were different from the trials. This time was just a dull throb. As he opened them and saw the seals, like he was able to do before. As he looked around the entrance, there was nothing different to the seal that he created. Walking further in, and there was still nothing new. Not even day-to-day ones. The Uchihas seemed to have trusted in his sealing matrix, nothing had changed. But with the Uchiha gone, he was free to go to Itachi's room without worry. As he made his way there quickly, as he walked towards Itachi's room, he picked up a lot of residual chakra in this area. Had he been right about Itachi's suspicious behavior from the start, the seals in the clan house head had been intact, except for around Itachi's room. If he had to say, it was like the room itself was ripped out of the sealing matrix, giving a hole of vulnerability in the village defenses. How careless. As he pulled open the door and stepped inside, there had been traffic through this room, and a whole lot of it. This was where the Uchiha had gone, all of them. He looked over to the wall to see a sealing array, a teleportation door. Once open and stepped through, you would come out wherever the other door was. They could be halfway across elemental nations for all he knew. But if they had the ability to create a seal like this one, then they could get back to Konoha at any time with another. Where they planned a surprise attack by coming back through this other door. Given Madara's reaction, and the way he spoke, something was wrong. And the way Menma reacted as well. Menma wasn't scared. He seemed to be focused, like he was acting out a play or something. What was the end game? Who was the real enemy? This whole business of thinking was not his favorite area of expertise. This is where Tobirama and Aizen has shown. Hell, even Madara. As he approached the sealed doorway, he tried to put some senjutsu into it to activate it. He can ask Madara himself directly. The seals though, they require specific hand signs, and he could not see it without the Sharingan. So someone in the Uchiha had learned seals. So he was going to find Madara using the doorway. If the man wanted Naruto, he was sure making it hard to find him. Alternatively, Naruto could just leave the village and go find the man the hard way. Yet, there was still something in Konoha that needed his protection. He was going to have to stay close by. As Naruto melted the transportation seal efforts, they won't be able to come back this way if that was even their plan at all. As he left the Uchiha compound, it was time that he finished a conversation with Hiruzen. He needed an ally. Time skip. You asked me why I haven't told my father who I really am. Hiruzen just returned back to his compound after the meeting. He jumped at the voice at the shadowy corner. Your office. A normal shinobi said, but Hiruzen knew who the shinobi was. He nodded and moved towards the room from yesterday. As Naruto was in there as well. Had enough of playing games? Asked Hiruzen. I wasn't playing. I was merely seeing how much you knew. As he transformed back into his older form, said Hiruzen. It's going to be a long conversation. I suggest that your eldest son tend to your clan duties in your absence. As Naruto waved his hand in the shadow clone form, as it transformed into Hiruzen, that he was going to take a long break than expected, old bones and all that, as he went to go and give the information. Firstly, said Naruto, I don't know if my arrival is coincidental for recent timings. Why no of all times? He would have been an easier target when he was younger. Secondly, I said nothing because I was enjoying the quiet. Being Hokage was demanding in ways that I could not expected, especially seeing that Konoha was new. Yes, the paperwork is rather tedious. No, it wasn't that, said Naruto. I was sought after every minute of the day. Training advice, team formation, jutsu mastery, missions, rate, clan disputes, all of it, every waking moment. I barely had time to think. At the time I didn't realize how much it was exhausting me. When I got back here, however, everything crashed down around me. The peace I suddenly had, it was all nice. As Naruto looked distant, with a smile on his face, it was also hard to comprehend my reality. I was taking a moment like this thinking that I wasn't going home. It wasn't that hard. Hashirama's seal has been quite well designed. Seal? Hiruzen said, confused. Yes, as you guessed, I was from this time. Transported back to the past, because of Hashirama's past actions. Actions that he never committed in their past, but mine. Confusing, I know. But the guilt he felt from pulling me from my own future. It made him feel guilty, and it never left him. It only seemed to grow, to the point where he figured out that he needed to send me back. His actions only became clear to me when I had a moment to think about them. That mission where I got myself stuck in a time sealed trap. I had a lot of time to think things through, and why he did it. I realized that Hashirama felt like he owed it to me, to send me back here. "You're not upset?" asked Hiruzen. "How old were you when you got sent to the past?" 16, same age as now really. I'm upset with him, and at the same time I am not. There's a part of me that never knew him. A part that grew up here. That part don't know or understand why I should even care. But the Hokage part of me, however. But it's pointless to be angry though. I knew that immediately upon arrival. Going back was out of the question. I had no idea where I'd end up. Who would know me and who wouldn't. But you build a whole life in the past. There was Naruto as well. You know him, don't you? Yes, I know about him now. But I didn't then. The first time I met him was at the trials. There was anger, there was sadness, and there was so much more. Yet, what did I could have said to him? He's older than I ever been. I couldn't be a father to him now, even if I wanted to be. He's lived a lifetime without knowing me. Imagine a kid like me approaching and trying to get involved. It would be hard and more pain than I want to feel at that point in time. The Uzumakis need time, Hiruzen. You know that, said Naruto. As silent tears were streaming down Naruto's cheeks, the emotion that he felt towards his son finally rising. He'd been so used to bottling his emotions due to the Uzumaki century. But now, talking about it directly, everything was pushing to the surface. Hiruzen wanted to move towards him, but what comfort could he offer the man now? As his response were mature. He knew that Naruto was especially heartful when it comes to our family. Anyway, said Naruto as he wiped the tears away from his cheeks. I had been here for a week before I realized something was wrong. The trials for one, there was a massive indicator. They appeared to be more of a screaming process. Perhaps it was Mito. Know that she's alive, looking for where I might pop up. Testing the young one, see if there was some change, and if I would come back as a different person. Time travel is untested and therefore unpredictable. She must have wanted to be sure. And then there was a breaking of sealing wonders, Hiruzen said. Still, why didn't you approach your father after the realization? Well, there was this nagging sensation in my mind that I need to lay low for a while. And the understanding the moment I made my presence known, everything would have changed. I would have to prove it for one, and I would have to explain for another. I was content in the first place to not let this world know about my origins. It would have been easier for me and easier for them. I can think many negatives because of time travel. As Hiruzen was surprised in her foresight, a time travel thing could cause more harm than good. The only good you could see coming forward was the respect of your name. Well, and the pestering, said Naruto. But the trials happened, and I was under constant suspicion from Menma. It was either wait it out or come forward, so I chose the former. I don't know what his connection to Madara is, but I suspect that Menma isn't as fool in sealing as he wants everyone to think he is. Madara would have needed a sealing master to break those sealing wonders. You expect your brother to be a traitor? Asked Hiruzen and raised eyebrow. He'd forgotten how brilliant Naruto Uzumaki Sensei was, and the things he can find out because of it. No, it's more complicated than merely traitor. I don't know who the real villain is. Hiruzen didn't understand. It was plain to everyone in Konoha that the man who declared war on them was the enemy. But Naruto didn't think it that way. Was it because he thought of Madara as a close friend? Madara was never declared a traitor by his clan. Not like before, and their disappearance pointed to them joining him. They must be living his cause, whatever it might be, even Itachi. Madara was a traitor before? Asked Hiruzen. Hiruzen was too close to the village to think things openly as Naruto closed his eyes, as he tried to work out just what the hell was going on. The people that were too close to the problem, Itachi, even Haruto as well. Why is it I never knew that Mito was alive, Naruto asked. Well, she's quite elderly. Most of her Uzumaki duties is deferred. This is the first time she's been seen in many years. Most assume that she passed quietly in her sleep one night, and no official announcement was made. The problem is, said Naruto, she shouldn't be alive. Neither Madara, neither Mito. They should not be alive. I have to go, said Naruto. If I stay here too long, it will get suspicious. That, and you're needed in the War Council. I trust that you will keep this a secret. And remember, if you choose to tell my father, this information is a triple S rank, and I am still the first. His tone, say no arguments to be said after that. You can't do this alone. You need help, said Hiruzen. No, this is my problem from my past. I won't let those from the present pay for my problem when I should have confronted myself. If I handled things differently, Hashirama would not have sent me to the past. That would have made things different here right now. Perhaps even Mito as well. Maybe she's been waiting all this time for me to reappear. As Naruto remembered when he showed, Hashirama is painting and the guilt on Hashirama's face. He should have addressed that more. This is my fault, and I'll be the one to fix things. I'm the only one that can give Madara what he wants. I refuse to see people die needlessly, trying to fight him. You and I both know that kid burned this village to the ground. The only question I have for him now, why hasn't he? As Naruto knew that no one from this time could rival with Madara, it was not fair at all. As Naruto transformed back into his hench before vanishing. Naruto knew that training was needed. So yes, training and a plan. As he wondered who was doing the provoking, something else was going on, something big. He was going to have to let this war happen, just see who this third party was. Because they were incredibly good at hiding in the shadows. As Naruto closed his eyes, as he vanished from Konoha entirely and reappeared in Mount Miyaboku, as he had a special connection to his world, so he was able to transport. But that was one way only. He would have to take the long way back to Konoha. The Toads were not surprised, no doubt Gamamaru had foreseen it. I hope you're ready for the consequences of your actions. He remembered Gamamaru's words as he approached the hall that Gamamaru was in. Was this what you meant? Said Naruto. Not even a proper greeting, Naruto boy. Now, Fukazaku. Naruto-kun is an old friend. One who's dealing with many problems, said Gamamaru. That is no excuse for poor manners, said Shima with a huff. Be that as it may, yes, Naruto-kun. This is what I foresaw. A great conflict brought forward by your actions. But you yourself came from a time of great conflict as well. It is important in this time to remember that your actions also brought forward a great deal of good. This will be the first war that shinobis have faced, rather than their third or fourth, said Fukazaku. If I may, I wish to stay here and train until the war begins, said Naruto. You would better serve going to your own dimension, the one that you created years ago, to trap the Uchiha and Senju heads. This will allow you enough time to get ready. Take as many as my children as you need, and treat them well. I, however, am going to sleep. I've waited long enough for your arrival, said Gamamaru. Naruto bowed. He spent his first day here testing the Toad for his sparring rival, and then he would do what the Toad said. Yes, he could manipulate time in that dimension to have all the time he need to be ready. Time skip. 1 week later saw Naruto Namikaze breaking out of his safe person. He had to wait until everyone marched off to meet Madara and the now Uchiha forces that were confirmed. One clan against the entire village, that was madness. As he had broken out before to lock the ceiling matrix from inside, so no one was able to unlock it. His father was so distracted he didn't even notice that the safe house seals had been tampered with. Naruto didn't blame the man for being so preoccupied. Madara was a large threat that needed to be dealt with. Kakashi had returned with no news about Minmo whereabouts, and Jiraiya just said that the Uchihas leave by using a seal. But Jiraiya had learned where they were, 2 days away from Konoha, as Minato went there instantly. But Madara and Minmo was not there, they were somewhere else. But he was met with warning fireballs. It was safe to say that Uchiha left willingly, and they didn't want to return. With all that, Naruto learned that Kushin had returned to remove his sleeping seal so he could eat and use the bathroom. Mom, he said as he regained his senses, but she went away before he could say anything else. Naruto was curious. Madara felt so confident in the Uchiha clan ability that they could take on the entire Konoha. Just them alone, one clan against all. Making sure that he had all his equipment, Naruto made his way to the Uzumaki compound. He was needed something there. Something he saw that day when he went to give his mother a report. Minato only took the best of the best, so he had to be careful. He left majority of the village behind to protect Konoha. A smart move on Minato's part because the village, the others around, might take the opportunity to attack Konoha. The Uchiha may be a fearsome clan, but at the end of the day, they were still only one clan. But still, Madara, Itachi, Shisui, and Minma together. The Uchiha bastard sure know how to pick his allies. A smile came on Naruto's face as he saw his blade on the wall of the Uzumaki compound, a special sword he spent many months working on. As he grabbed it, before focusing on the original Naruto, a portal was opened up in the dimension that he was in, just big enough to grab the blade. With that taken care of, he dashed toward the village gates. Time skip. A roaring pillar of flame announced Madara arrived on the battlefield. With him was a barely conscious Menma. The Uchiha bowed their respect, Itachi in the front, bowing the lowest. Madara-sama. The preparations are complete. Good. Let's go see if they will take me up on my offer. Madara's gaze was on the force opposite them. Minato was surely underestimating him if that was all he brought to face the Uchiha clan. They chose a large, open landscape where no one could really hide. There were perhaps 100 to 150 shinobis. But Konoha had prepared, as there were medical tents and a lot others there, weapon tents and a ration station. But they didn't have barriers, physical or otherwise, surrounding them. A sneak attack could easily be arranged. It made Madara chuckle. It was like they deserve a war. Still, making assumptions could probably get him killed. For all he knew, there was a sealed door. Or even a summoning seal. He dragged Minma by his collar as he pulled him along with Itachi beside him. The rest of the Uchiha remained behind. Minato and Kushina started to step forward as well, the Konoha camp remaining behind. This was a meeting to negotiate terms. Every war starts to one after all. If they were lucky, they would just hand over Naruto, and all of this can be put to an end. As they met halfway, Minato glaring dangerous like Madara. I take you're not going to hand over Naruto Uzumaki. As Madara felt the buzz of anticipation from the Konoha ninja, they had no experience with war at all. Like hell I would, you bastard, Kushina growled out. And it's Namikaze. Get his name right if you're trying to kill him. They were far from either forces so they wouldn't hear anything. No, I was not mistaken, said Madara. I want Uzumaki Naruto, who you have in your possession. Namikaze, what say you? Or are you gonna let your wife do all the talking for you? No disrespect, Uzumaki-san, he said, as he wanted to rile her up, increase her anger. He wanted to see how much control Mito had over her. As he jerked Minma collar, the boy groaned in pain, as he saw the heat in Kushina's eyes grow, and the iciness in Minta's eyes harden. I stand with Kushina. I will not hand over my son Namikaze Naruto. If it's Uzumaki Naruto you want, your years too late for him, said Minato. Fire and ice. It was a match that should not be, but yet they were a perfect duo, as Madara appreciated the lineage that Naruto had. Well then, I guess we can give it up, Minma-kun, said Madara. As Madara released Minma collar, the boy flickered out of sight before standing up, not even a scratch on him. Too bad you just didn't give us Naruto, Dad. I imagine that you locked him somewhere. As the two of them froze, they looked at Minma. What the hell? But guys, if you in the right here, if you want the next part of this, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. Bye, for now. See you guys soon. Peace.